In less than a week, Into the Inklands will release and bring the total number of mechanically distinct cards up to a massive 612. Before we get there though, I wanted to highlight my top 5 most unique mechanics from Rise of the Floodborn and talk a little bit about why they're so interesting. I'll also do a quick rundown of some of the cards that didn't quite make the top 5 at the end of the video. So without further ado, number 5, Enchantress, True Form. Enchantress is the only card in Lorcana who gets a little strength boost when she is challenged. She's very similar to cards with Challenger like Forceful Duelist and Wicked Sorcerer, but her effect triggers when she is the target of a challenge rather than the instigator. It's definitely an ability that fits in well with Emerald's general tactic of I'm gonna quest, deal with it if you want to, like Flynn Rider's Discard and Cheshire Cat's Banish Back effects. Should it have been a keyword ability? Well, who knows. Number 4. Namari, Nemesis. Namari is the only character in the game that has to banish herself in order to use her activated ability. This shouldn't take too long. It's interesting to note that she also has to exert in order to use this ability, something that doesn't really matter once she's activated because she'll be banished anyway. The reason for this is that having to exert means she is required to be done drying. If that exert symbol wasn't there, you could drop Namari and immediately banish her to use her effect, as if she were an item, like Poisoned Apple. Number 3. Basil, the Great Mouse Detective. Rise of the Floodborn brought us several cards that care about the Floodborn mechanic, like Bucky and Nana that trigger when a Floodborn character is played, but Basil is the only card in the game that specifically cares about whether he was played using the shift mechanic itself, with his ability only triggering if he was shifted on top of another card. Honestly, it's a little surprising we didn't see more effects like this in this set, since it was themed around Floodborn. Number 2. Cogsworth, Talking Clock. We have seen several cards in the game that grant themselves and other characters keywords, and even one that grants other characters a triggered ability that isn't a keyword. Fairy Godmother, Mystic Armorer. Cogsworth, though, is the only card that allows other characters to gain an activated ability, essentially turning your Reckless characters into questers without violating the anti-questing rules of Reckless itself. And finally, number 1, Beast, Selfless Protector. There's just no way this couldn't be my pick for number 1 most unique mechanic in Rise of the Floodborn. Not only did this card introduce an entirely new mechanic to the game in the placing of damage counters, as compared to simply damaging a character, it did so whilst also being the first instance of a replacement effect that isn't part of an activated ability. This card has probably been the source of the most confusion for players and the source of many rules clarifications from Steve and the Ravensburger team. And it did all that whilst not being very commonly played. Imagine if this guy had wound up as a staple card in a popular deck. Chaos. Finally, let's take a high-speed look at some of the cards that almost made the list. Sword in the Stone and Peter Pan's Dagger, the only items with activated and static abilities that don't have a name. Sorcerer's Spellbook and Sleepy's Flute, the only items that can gain lore. Yzma, Scary Beyond All Reason, the only card that shuffles characters back into the deck from play. Donald Duck Perfect Gentleman, our only true group hug card and card that affects all players during the beginning phase. Lady Tremaine, Overbearing Matriarch, our only card that interacts with lore count outside of increasing and decreasing. Mother Gothel, Wicked and Withered, our only character that enters play damaged. Raya, Leader of Heart, the only character that conditionally can take no damage. Nothing to Hide, our only action card that can reveal an opponent's hand. And Fang Crossbow, our only card that has 2 activated abilities. That's my opinion on the most mechanically unique cards from Rise of the Floodborn. If I missed one of your favourite cards, let me know in the comments, and I'll type up a deeply heartfelt apology for the oversight. And don't forget to check out my video on the first chapter if you haven't already. Please consider subscribing if you want to hear more mechanics overviews, and follow me on Twitter or Instagram for more light-hearted googly content at GooglyGlimmers. If there's anything specific you'd like me to cover, I'll always be checking the comments for ideas. Until next time, may all your pulls be googly.